we've been bombarded with this question. And I know why you guys ask these questions, why you guys click these videos. Because maybe you got jaded in previous games, previous MMOs, action RPGs. You pick the character you like, and you want to get into some content. Maybe you don't have friends, you know, like me, and you got into a situation where you got a pug. And as soon as you register, you apply for this group or guild or whatever, you get declined. And you get you try again, you get declined again, and it feels like shit. Oh yeah, by the way, my YouTube videos, we're not gonna have any filters, no scripts, just the raw truth, no sugarcoating. All right. So I know where you guys are coming from. You don't want to be a meta slave, but you've been in these games where you're like pretty much forced to be. I get it. I've been a meta slave in all my previous MMOs, action RPGs, whatever. I'm famous for just switching mains all the time. My guildies have to put up with it. My friends have to put up with it. But we got the job done. It was necessary. But, you know, I could just cut this. If you got no time. Right now, maybe you've heard it a billion times. In this game, that is not the case. And I'm going to give you multiple reasons why. Now, before I do that, I want to give my credentials. I fucking hate doing this. It's so cringe. But nobody else is doing it on the Lost Ark YouTube verse, because they don't have credentials. The people with credentials aren't making dumb guides. They aren't making dumb tier lists or tier lists at all. In Korea, we have a bunch of new players. As I've discussed in this video, there are a lot of great beginners guides out there. Oh, you're just saying that because you're Korean, ZEALS. It's not because the West cares about the meta. Koreans care about the meta too. It's not anything to do with race. It's because people that are making guides in Korea make guides with experience. There are a lot of these non-credential trailer Andes, Reddit Andes, copy pasta-ers on YouTube right now for Lost Ark, and it is what it is. It's not really helping the community. It's for selfish gains. I've been in that position, you know, not research a game, just cover it, make clickbait titles and thumbnails, get a lot of money, go treat my ex-girlfriend out. We had a party and shit, you know, it was the good old days. But for this game, I love this game. And I want to tell you guys the truth about a lot of things. So for me, I've been playing this game. I've stopped counting after 2,500 hours. I pretty much play this game 12 to 14 hours a day. I have not missed a day since alpha ended. So I've been playing in Korea. Pretty much safe to say that I have the highest gunslinger, battlemaster, and artist as a content creator, YouTuber, Twitch, whatever, streamer thingy. I hate those titles. But as one of those that speak English, I have the highest of those classes, and I have like 24 alts. I know life the shit out of this game because of what I said in the beginning. I don't want to make videos where I'm just covering it with trailers and just repeating what other people said on Reddit. A little bit off to the side, but as you guys watch these guides, like these endgame videos, and they're just soloing the first Guardian boss, which anybody can solo, those are not, that is not endgame. We'll talk about that later, but just do a little bit of background research of these fucking selfish YouTubers. They're not really trying to help the community, they're trying to help their pockets. In Korea, like I said, we have a bunch of new players. They go to these top streamers in Korea, you know, 10K viewers, 5K, 2K Andes, and they donate money. And in the donate TTS, they ask, what is the best DPS? What class should I play? What is good? What is bad? And the answer is always the same. Maybe you've heard it before. Some people are already getting sick of it. Play what you like. Now, as we go into the YouTube scene for the Korean Lost Ark content creators, whether it's 1 million subs, 100K, 300K, 10K, 1K, nobody is making tier lists. Nobody's making tier lists. They make videos about what they recommend based on their opinion, but nobody's putting it in some kind of a list. Nobody's talking about this, and you gotta think, why is that? Why is it the case? Are they scared of being canceled or something? Is it a very touchy subject? It's mostly because the balance for endgame in PvE, we'll talk about PvP in a little bit, is pretty much like this, okay? Now, as there's a new balance patch, there is like a disparity. People figure out new builds, new metas, and then the gap expands. But then once again, there's a balance patch to close the gap. That is how this game balances. So there may be a little gap, but ultimately this gap is within the sphere of they are viable. I'm gonna say this right now. I've said this 1,000 times on Twitch. All the releasing 15 subclasses are viable. I have seen them clear all endgame content when they were not nerfed and post-nerf, pugs, streamers, everything. Now the second thing I want to talk about when it comes to best DPS tier lists. People come in my chat and be like, what is the best DPS? And once again, I get it because you've been jaded. I'm not judging you guys, but you guys ask, what is the best DPS? What is the best class for tier 1? And in my head, I'm thinking, why do you care about what shoes you're gonna wear for your first day to preschool? Do you even remember the pair of shoes you wore? Were they Air Jordans? Do you have to wear Air Jordans when you're fucking 4, 5, or 6? It doesn't matter. Tier 1 is like a tutorial, is what I'm saying. Tier 1, yes, you could break it down into tier lists, but everything is viable. Tier 1 is a joke. People are fucking freaking out about tier 1. Y'all need to relax, okay? Tier 1 is an introductory period where you get adjusted to the basic systems of the game. You don't even have tripods, you don't have gems. So you were just taking baby steps here. Another thing is, why are you even asking some random dude, me, or any other streamer, what you should play, right? That's like asking me, that's like going to, some random dude on the internet asking, who of the 22 gals you have in your high school class to ask out for prom? Why does some random stranger's opinion matter? You should pick the one that you want to ask out to prom. Whoever you think is the best. Outside, inside, personality-wise, everything. Smell, armpit hair, whatever. You have to judge that in terms of gameplay, sound-wise, look-wise, avatar-wise. Is it clunky? Is it mobile? Is it tanky? All of that stuff. And speaking of tankiness and mobility, what tier lists don't capture is it talking about, like, when people say endgame tier list, man, I'm gonna have to, like, put an example on the screen. But when they talk about endgame tier list, what exactly is their definition of endgame? Because in Korea, currently, endgame is farm content. Everything is in farm mode. There's no new raid for the next 6 months. It's just farm content. So it's not progression content. What I'm trying to say is there are classes that do pretty much, in general, better in surviving and learning fights and mechanics, gimmicks, during progression. All right? During progression, some classes are just going to be a little bit better. More at an advantage because they are more mobile, more tankier, or more forgiving in harder situations, harder fights, harder gimmicks, stuff like that. But in the farm content, some classes are just way better because bosses, Legion Commander raids have set patterns, meaning at certain HP, things happen, mechanics, group-wise, solo mechanics that you just drop all your DPS and go do. So in farm content, right now, we just do some massive burst to cut all the middle random patterns. Random pattern is just that, random. Boss has set of mechanics or set of attacks that they perform at random basis. So by doing a lot of burst DPS, you're able to skip the random patterns and just do the set patterns back to back until the boss dies. So that is the current meta right now. And that's why I'm not angry, I'm just passionate. I just can't stand these tier lists because they don't capture that. They don't explain that. So it's misguiding more people while they collect ad revenue. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is what exactly is a meta? Meta is always evolving. There's always someone doing research out there, so it can shift. Something can pop off in 2 weeks. Like right now, everyone's talking about Gunsolber, Gunsolber, Gunsolber. Gunsolber means gun, gunslinger, Sol, sorceress, blade. Going back to the farm content, burst meta. So, like, I saw this video on stream where Blade is, like, at the second to bottom tier. I'm like, what the fuck? Are we playing the same game? Because in the end game meta, because this video said end game meta, in the end game meta, Blade is, like, really hot right now. The meta is not constant. It's always changing. Something new will come up very soon once again. And this year, 2022, is the year of balance set by the main director, Kim Gang-sun, during the Lost Ark winter. Class balance in PvE, PvP. We're gonna get a third awakening and an extra button. Counterbalance for counterattacks. Revamps for animations for older classes that were released in 2018. Revisiting some of the mechanics, the flow, and everything. So you're asking about meta and DPS and balance during a year where there's gonna be so many just changes. So what I'm saying is, we don't know what the hell it's gonna look like in a week or two or a month or 2 months or 3 months. And that is why tier lists will not help you at all. It will harm you like it harmed me. I followed tier lists. I went to all the Korean top streamers. I watched all the videos for classes, well, we call it jobs in Korea. And they were like, play the one you like, play the one you have the most fun with, play the one that keeps you logging back in every day, and the classes that makes you want to make progress because of the way they play, because you like them. I didn't listen to them. I followed some random posts on some random forum. I just typed it on Google in Korean, and I followed some April tier list, May tier list, and I played it, and I've spent a lot of time and money, and I've re-rolled mains 6-7 times. It's a fucking meme that ZEALS re-rolls every 2 weeks, and it's true. It's okay in tier 1 to try them all out. Don't freak out. Tier 1 is okay, but I'm just saying later on, man, later on, the price of upgrading goes exponentially. The meta is always shifting. And I just hit my knuckle. To go on with that topic, the next point is, why are you chasing the Korean meta? Why are you even asking about like what the end game best is when you're not going to play in Korea? Oh, I'll give you the answer if you're gonna play in Korea. Okay, if you're gonna catch up to us in Korea, what the Korean end game doesn't matter to other regions like NAEU, because by the time you get here to the bus stop, the bus has left to the next station. Okay, at the next station, there's gonna be other people on board the bus, other people will be off the bus. So what are you gonna do when the people on the bus, which is pretty much the decent classes, I guess, so those lists of classes are different from the previous station. What are you gonna do? Re-roll? Okay, so let's say you re-roll, you catch up to the next station, you're walking to the next station, the bus left! We're at the next station, and the meta is different here. What are you gonna do? Re-roll again? I mean, you can in tier 1, you can for PvP, because you don't have to re-gear. But for tier 3 content, at the end game that we are in Korea, that is gonna destroy your time and your wallet, dude. Okay? So chasing the meta when it's always evolving and changing and pretty much moving ahead of you is just a bad move. It's just a waste of your time, resources, and your fucking brain cells, honestly. And the next thing I want to say is, by the time, let's just say you get to a point where you get to figure out the meta. Maybe you're the researcher now. By the time some people figured out the meta in whatever region, by that time, the endgame boss is on farm. It's on farm by the time the meta is figured out and all the research and all, which is not something that happens, because there's new research and stuff. But by the time, let's say the preliminary research is done, the endgame content's over. The first clears are done. Okay? And, you know, a couple weeks after, when it's all finalized, the meta, we're going into the farm content now. Oh, I heard that some class, they're sealing DPS, the theoretical max DPS, while standing still, hitting a boss that is not moving. Is this? Bro, let me be honest with you. Even in Korea, there are only maybe one or two of each subclass that are at that ceiling. Okay? 1 or 2 players of that subclass at that ceiling. 99.9999999. We are not reaching the ceiling. We're mostly just gonna hang out in the middle and the upper end. And in this department, we're gonna be okay. You don't have to worry about the ceiling DPS. Another thing the tier lists don't capture is public perception. Numbers and facts are inferior to public perception. Okay, so of the starting 15 subclasses, their public perception in Korea, in other regions, they're pretty good. They're pretty good enough that you don't have to worry. There are some that are in a very bad light right now, but they are not coming to NAEU just yet. So public perception, from a video or a stream to their viewers, and then they spread it to their party mates in the game. They're like, oh, I heard this class sucks, so I'm not gonna invite them in the game. Blah, 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 blah. So public perception is not being portrayed in these inexperienced tier lists. So there are lists in Korea where people do vote of what they perceive of such classes, right? Now, that's not really a tier list. It's just more of data or people's collected opinion. Same thing goes with the video that I made about like the population lists. It's not really a tier list. It's just a clickbait title, but it's just a list of factual numbers of each classes and why they're popular. All in all, I just want to say, don't be bamboozled, tricked by these tier lists made by people with no credentials, people that are not in the end game, people that have no experience in the end game, even if it was made by a person in the end game. Which, funny fact, by the way, no English-speaking end game players are making tier lists, right? You don't see Saint or, you know, my boy Stoops or anybody. We're not making no tier lists. There's a fucking reason, and the reasons I just said for the last whatever minutes. So, yeah, don't be tricked, don't be bamboozled. TLDR, I'm just giving more detail about why we say play the class that fits you. Maybe they smell good, they look good, they sound good, they play good. Those are the characters you should stick to. Okay? Now, as for PvP, the game's not even freaking out. We don't even know what the meta is, what the counter is, because we're missing some subclasses. We don't even know what in gold bracket, what people are playing mostly there, what is the major counter. We don't know anything. And yes, one day there will be a PvP tier list, and that's fine. For PvP, just re-level, no big deal. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say. If you enjoyed the video, just follow me on Twitch. That's it. Thank you so much, guys. More to come. Your boy ZEALS. Peace.